Weather has been making headlines throughout this past week, coming up on Whether or Not, from solar eclipses in Australia to tornadoes in the deep south. We have all your weather headlines covered coming up in Nature in the News. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Whether or Not starts right now. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Whether or Not. I'm your host, Christy Reuille.
And I'm your forecaster, Tom Bedard.
Well, Tom, weather sure has been making headlines across the country this week. Will it continue to make headlines as we head into the weekend?
I think weather's going to be stuck in the headlines for at least the next couple of weeks. We may not be looking at the sort of severe weather throughout this weekend that we saw this past week, but the recovery operations occurring in the south and the east coast are going to be enough to keep the headlines full of the rescue operations, less the weather that's happening, more the weather that's happened in the past.
Well, what about this weekend here in Happy Valley?
I think this weekend we're looking calm. We're not looking too much in the way of a big weather headline. What we are concerned about is, of course, the weather for graduation weekend next weekend. But that's much lower of a priority than making sure that we have good weather for these recovery operations. Well,
definitely. We look forward to the details of your forecast coming up later in this show. But for now, here's Nature in the News.
Fireworkers here in Centre County carried out a controlled burn in the Scotia Barrens Game Land number 176 this past Monday. Around 25 acres were burned, and State Game Commission Regional Forester Frank Chubon says about twice that amount was burned last week. Both of these burns are part of an extended program that will result in the controlled burn over 1,000 acres over 10 years. These burns aim to restore habits for animals such as deer by removing brush and creating open fields. Fires will also provide a kickstart to the germination process for pine tree seeds to grow before they are scavenged and will reduce the number of pesky ticks. Controlled burns will reduce the risk of wildfires as we head towards the summer by eliminating the dry grasses and brush that wildfires thrive on.
Oklahoma utility companies are now charging homeowners extra for using renewable energy sources. Last week, Oklahoma Governor Mary Fallin signed the solar surcharge bill, which will allow utility companies to charge an extra fee to customers using solar panels or wind turbines to generate part of their electricity, while still being connected to the local power grid. Kathleen O'Shea, spokeswoman for Oklahoma Gas and Electric, says that right now, customers who use solar panels as part of their electricity supply are paying less for the maintenance of the entire grid, even though they still tap into the grid for electricity. Approximately 300 of Oklahoma Gas and Electric's 800,000 customers use rooftop solar panels or wind turbines already. These customers will be grandfathered in and not charged the new fee.
What was the longest streak without a tornado death to start the calendar year since 1915 came to an end last weekend. An 11-month-old died in North Carolina on April 26 after sustaining injuries from a tornado last Friday night, which has been given a preliminary EF3 rating, the first EF3 or stronger tornado of the year. It had been 126 days since the last tornado fatality. April 26 is the third latest date to see the year's first tornado death since 1880 and the latest date to see the year's first EF3 or stronger tornado. Unfortunately, since that evening, more than 30 others have lost their lives due to tornadoes across the south and the east.
On a lighter note, a new radar system is being designed to help search and rescue teams find victims trapped beneath rubble in the wake of severe weather. A team at the Jet Propulsion Lab in Pasadena, California is developing a system called Finding Individuals for Disaster and Emergency Response, or FINDER. Inspired by past disasters such as the Moore, Oklahoma tornado last year, FINDER is designed to search a house-sized collapsed structure for survivors in about 2 minutes. FINDER uses microwave signals to search the debris for moving reflections that would identify a buried victim. FINDER's task manager Jim Lux says that FINDER will pick up even the slight motion of a victim breathing beneath the rubble, even if the person is unconscious. Conventional search and rescue techniques rely on hearing a victim yelling or making noise. FINDER is currently being tested in Virginia and is expected to be on the market this summer. And while it has been a wet week here in central Pennsylvania, we have been spared from much of the severe weather. To see if that will continue, here's Tom with your forecast.
Well, now it's that time in the broadcast to take a look at the forecast for central Pennsylvania, and this time around to answer Christy's question if we should have any concerns about severe weather for central Pennsylvania in the near future. Now, that severe weather was coming from a large low pressure system. That system will have moved off the coast, and you can see it right here in the Atlantic Ocean by Friday. This is Friday around 8 o'clock in the morning, so we're not concerned about this for Friday, though some of the effects that it's going to give central Pennsylvania are a northwest component to the wind, which you are used to seeing lower clouds and sort of hit or miss rain showers that might pop up on the radar. We're not so much concerned about the rain on Friday, but we will see some clouds and we will see a lower temperature. On Saturday, the rain starts to come back into the picture, though not till the afternoon, evening hours, so if you have early plans, those are still okay. Clipper system that's going to quickly drop by, so a couple of drops of rain onto your garden during Saturday. We're worried about that again towards the afternoon, evening hours. It's out of here by Sunday, so it's going to be over by our east. We're talking about a sunny day. It's finally nice to say. We're not talking about a glorious sunshine-filled sky, but we're talking about more sun than we've seen in the past couple of days, enough to at least put an icon on there and celebrate a little bit. So get outside, enjoy some of the sun. But first, let's talk some details about Friday. 60 degrees below average temperature, but a partly sunny sky. It's going to feel nice and warm when you're in the sunshine, but when you're in the shade, you might need a sweatshirt or a jacket. Now, if you're going out Friday night, you're not too worried about having a very chilly evening. 42 degrees isn't bad by standards, at least what we've had this winter. 42 still feels warm, shorts and t-shirt. Partly clear sky. Now that partly clear sky might be infiltrated by a couple more clouds. On Saturday, we're not going to see a thoroughly cloudy sky, but we might see a couple more clouds move in by the afternoon. And as we get closer to the evening hours, some of those clouds will begin to produce a couple of raindrops. So PM showers, 62 degrees, a bit warmer. Those showers will become more prominent in the weather by Saturday night, so this might be a nocturnal event. 44 degrees with intermittent rain. Again, we're not worried about flash flooding or creek flooding. We're just thinking along the lines of a nice garden shower, so it's going to be good for the plants. April showers, spring, May flowers, right? Sunday, 66 degrees, partly cloudy. Rain is out of there early. It's a nice, happy Valley Spring Sunday, so I hope you get outside and enjoy it.
Drought in Texas has hit some cities hard, including Wichita Falls, where city officials are now turning to cloud seeding in an attempt to artificially generate much-needed rain. Over the past 3 years, the city's two main reservoirs have fallen from 87% full to just 26% full. Along with the drought has come a complete ban on irrigation, and leaders worry about what could happen if things get any worse. That's why they have spent $300,000 on a new cloud seeding program designed to enhance rainfall over the reservoirs. Cloud seeding only works with existing clouds. It can't create rain from blue skies. Instead, it simply augments the existing rainfall through the introduction of small particles into the air. The particles attract droplets of moisture within the clouds, and they eventually become heavy enough to fall as rain. These extra rain droplets can supplement the ones falling naturally, and locals are hopeful that this will bring a modest but drought-busting increase in rainfall totals.
The world has a new fastest animal, and it's not found on the plains of Africa. Researchers at Pomona College in Southern California discovered that a tiny mite has a faster relative speed than any other animal on Earth. Of course, the cheetah still holds the record for the fastest overall speed, but when top speed is compared to body size, the mite wins the race. The fastest cheetahs can move up to 16 body lengths per second, but this mite moves as fast as 322 body lengths per second. The mite is barely a few millimeters long and is also capable of stopping and changing directions quickly. For some perspective, if an average human person was able to move 322 body lengths per second, they would be traveling at over 1,300 miles per hour. Tuesday brought the Earth's first solar eclipse of the year, but only Australians were lucky enough to catch a glimpse. It was an annular eclipse, meaning that the moon was too small to completely obscure the sun, creating a so-called ring of fire around the edges. The eclipse was at its greatest extent over an uninhabited part of Antarctica, though parts of Australia saw up to 65% of the sun covered. Despite some clouds, many were able to see the unusual phenomena. Here in Pennsylvania, we won't get a shot at seeing an eclipse until August 21st, 2017. That eclipse will completely obscure the sun across a large swath of the United States, though it will only be a partial eclipse here in Happy Valley.
Penn State researchers and NASA say they have discovered the coldest star known to man, and it's not far from Earth. While most stars visible in our night sky burn quite hot, this particular star is a dim brown dwarf, and scientists say it is as cold as our planet's North Pole. Its surface temperatures range between 10 and 50 degrees Fahrenheit below zero. The star also lies just 7.2 million light years away, and though that may seem quite far, this actually makes it the fourth closest star to Earth. Here in University Park, Kevin Luhman, an astronomer at Penn State's Center for Exoplanets and Habitable Worlds, said that the discovery should provide insight about the atmospheres of planets outside our solar system, which are often similarly cold.
Let's take one more look at your weekend forecast and get a bit of next week into the message as well. Friday, a little bit cool, 60 degrees, about 8 degrees below the average. More clouds than sun. It's not the best day, but a good representation of that Happy Valley spring afternoon. Saturday, we're going to see 62 degrees with a sprinkle towards the evening and a couple of showers overnight associated with a quick moving disturbance. Now that disturbance is going to be out of here by Sunday. Take a look, 64 degrees under a mostly sunny sky, or partly sunny sky rather. On Monday, we're going to be seeing that nice kind of clear sky with a couple of clouds stick around. Tuesday as well. Wednesday, a warm front is going to pass through the area, a couple of showers and a small inflection in the temperature. Thursday and Friday, we do expect to warm up as we pass into the warm sector of a disturbance that will be approaching from the Midwest. A couple of thunder showers associated with that, and on Friday, the last day of Penn State finals and the graduation for many of the Penn State meteorology students, including Tyler and myself. Now stay tuned for next week's feature presentation, and you'll see some of the exit messages from Tyler and myself as we graduate on Friday.
All right, Tom. Well, I see there's some thunderstorms in your forecast for the end of next week. Are we going to be seeing any tornadoes here with those? Any chance of that?
You know, Christy, the setup that you need for tornadoes, good moisture in the lower layers of the atmosphere close to the surface, and good wind shear, so winds changing direction and speed with height, are the ingredients you absolutely need for a tornado formation. We don't typically see those in Union and what we need for tornadoes in central PA, so we're not looking at this moment for a severe threat at the end of next week, though of course things could change. Keep an eye out to the Storm Prediction Center in your local National Weather Service office for more information.
All right, thanks for that great advice, Tom. And on that note, we get back to our Weather Whiz quiz. On average, how many tornadoes occur in Pennsylvania each year? A, 22, B, 16, C, 11, or D, 8? And the answer is B, 16.
Now, the U.S. will annually see on average about 1,253 tornadoes every year.
And Tom, while we see 16 tornadoes on average each year here in Pennsylvania, Texas sees the most of any state. They see an average of 155 tornadoes each year, so much better chance of seeing a tornado in Texas than here in Pennsylvania.
And of course, that's because ingredients for tornado genesis, severe thunderstorms and thunderstorms in general, are better in Texas. You find more ingredients and more ingredients of a higher quality. If you could say that, there are more storm spotters in Texas, and they have a much larger state to traverse to see these tornadoes.
That's right, Tom. Everything is bigger in Texas, like they always say. On that note, that's all we have for this week's show. I'm your host, Christy Reuille.
And I'm your forecaster, Tom Bedard. Have a great day.